My guest is Dan Avnon. He's the director of the Center for the Gilo Center for Democracy and Citizenship in Israel. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
But it's hard to make you a guest because you're an old friend.
That's true.
And
but makes it comfortable.
Yes,
Yes.
we've been long associated. And one of the difficulties is asking questions because I presume too much, whereas when I don't know much about a subject, I can ask questions at random. But I think we should start by explaining what the Gilo Center is about.
We established the Gilo Center in 2001, and we had a definite mission that we actually accomplished. Our mission was to change the status of civic identity in Israel through school curriculum. So what we did was we set up a program, a graduate program for civics teachers, MA. We set up a research program to do research around that subject. And we set up experimental classes where our graduates taught kids from high schools in Jerusalem civics based on programs that we developed at the center.
Did you, when you were teaching these kids, I never actually asked you this question, did you, because the kids are all segregated, there's Arab schools and religious schools and secular schools and all kinds of different schools. Did you get mixed classes when you did this?
Well, you're into a surprise there. We had a two-stage strategy. The first one was to change on a national scale the place of civics in the national curriculum. We accomplished that within 4 years. The government today teaches in all public schools in the high school level, civics double the time and across all school systems. When we got that done, we went to the next stage.
Before we get to the next stage, I want to ask you a question. Because one of the things about civics is it's about civility. I mean, in the larger sense.
That's
partly
true.
it's about civilization. And you know, and I know, that's an old problem in Israel in practice.
That's
because
true.
as a contrast to Canada, Israel has many great virtues. That wasn't one of them. How did you measure the results in the education yet on the impact on behavior?
Not yet, because it is what you mentioned as civility, we kind of framed as a question of a common language, which is actually common cues and common symbols. So our civics, our basic civics, which is taught across the school system, is about what are our common boundaries, what is done and what isn't done. We don't have that in Hebrew, incidentally. There's an expression in Hebrew which says it isn't done. It just doesn't exist in our thinking. We try to teach that, including, incidentally, a lot of going around the country, meeting other people, not just sitting in classrooms. However, coming back to your first question and to your follow-up, when we got that done, the thinking and the curriculum, we were ready on next stage. Next stage was to enhance civics to the stature of mathematics or English, you know, heavy-duty matriculation, because these are matriculation subjects in high school. And we set up a program, the only one in the state of Israel, is here at the Hebrew University. Gilo Center is part of the Hebrew University, of course, whereby we teach children from the Jewish public school system, the Arab public school system, and the religious public school system in Jerusalem. Now, you don't live in this town, but in this town, my kids grew up. Of course, they didn't meet a single Arab from Jerusalem.
Or a single religious.
But a religious, if you want to teach core shared courses, doesn't exist in Jerusalem.
No.
You either go to the religious stream or to the non-religious. And we at the Gilo Center have a class, 3-year long. We bus kids from Beit Safafa, which is an Arab neighborhood, from Abu Ghosh, outskirts of Jerusalem, and children that sign up from schools across the city. 3 years. They matriculate in a program that is called Citizenship and Pluricultural
Really?
Environment.
How many kids went through this program?
Well, the next cohort we have, it's an experiential program. Experiential program? Experimental program. We had 4 cohorts. The third is matriculating in 2 weeks. You know, the 12th grade, the Jews go to the army, the Arabs go on to either national service or to their lives. And the last cohort is next year. And they came here for 3 years. So this is my answer to your question. This is, and now again, we're doing this in order to take the lessons and bring them to Israel. If we could create such a program in Haifa, in Nazareth, in Ramle, in Beersheba, in all the towns where you have mixed populations, and you teach the common political democratic foundations and the unique separate cultural identities, then we've done something for civic consciousness in Israel, which is what the Gilo Center is about.
But the research part of it, you're researching this cohort.
Of course.
I presume you have control groups that you're measuring what happens to them and their changes in attitude versus your group.
Well, the problematic thing, there's a thing called funding.
Oh, is there?
To get this
program. You need funds in a research center? Surprise.
This program is in cooperation with the Jerusalem municipality,
Yeah.
the Ministry of Education, and the Jerusalem Foundation, which enables it to happen. Because you can imagine, we had to create a curriculum, we had to run it through the bureaucracy, we had to train teachers. We have this little bus that I was really adamant at getting that will pick the kids up and then take them home at the end of each class. All of that is very expensive. And evaluation is heavy duty. Now we need evaluation. Hopefully someone will donate for us the funds necessary next year to do the research with the class that's matriculating now and the one that is next year. And we will do the work necessary to transform this to a national curriculum. I would say something about the research. Since we're here together and you're from Canada, I want to say that part of our research program is a cohort of Israeli, Jews and Arabs and Canadian scholars, either doctorate students or postdoctorates, who sit for a year at the Gilo Center with a very generously endowed program that came from the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University. And we just, out of print, I don't know if it could be seen here, we have this book, Plurality and Citizenship in Israel. The people who wrote, contributed this volume, all of them lectured or gave seminars or were part, those who were fellows here, were part of the Gilo Center, and the Canadian and Jewish and Arab wisdom that they came as researchers filtered into our programs, which is an example of how we're working as a university center, not only as a teaching center. It's difficult to be a teacher in a university, you know, to have high school kids in university.
Right. But related to the scholarship, we should at least disclose for the audience that I am chair of the Rabin Scholarship.
Okay, that's one of the things that we do together.
Yeah,
yes.
well, why don't you describe the Rabin Scholarship Program, because it's a fascinating program where you mix scholars from
It's fascinating and it works. The Rabin Scholarship Program is a program that funds each year an Israeli Arab an Israeli Jew. Scholars are either doctoral or postdoctoral, who specialize in issues relating to tolerance, you know, dignified coexistence and things of that nature within divided societies as our own. In addition, there's a Canadian scholar who joins that cohort. They sit at the Gilo Center for a year. We give them rooms and facilities, and they, you know, each one works on his research and they're part of our work. In addition, we have visiting guests from the same Rabin endowment that come for a month or 6 weeks, Canadians who had been selected by your committee, I assume.
Yes.
And we've developed some wonderful friendships there. For example, John Fraser, who heads Massey College at the University of Toronto. I think it was his first visit to Israel, and we're famous friends since. And
I get all kinds of free meals at Massey.
So, do you get to wear all the funny things that they do for dinner? They have these funny clothes.
Yes, but I don't have to wear them.
Okay.
Okay, let me get on to the future. How do you see the future of the Gilo?
What we would like, the Gilo Foundation completed its cycle of funding this year. They set up goals for us. They really liked what we did. We accomplished everything, and we're now moving to our next stage. And our next stage is to capitalize on everything that we've done, the research, the teaching, the experience, the things that you actually asked about, and to transform or to communicate them to the Israeli public school system and to the academic level, which is to frame the issue of civic education, which relates to common language, common values, common assumptions about what's done and isn't done in a democratic, decent society. And this is, I think, why we're so related to Canada, because the decency part is something that is a Canadian cultural characteristic that we have yet to internalize. So we have to work on decency, we have to work on equality, which is not legislated in our constitution and forming, and it is very central to civic education. And we have to take everything that we've done and to transform it on a national level, academically and in the high schools.
Do you have funding for this?
Unfortunately, no, and we really would appreciate a donor who understands the importance and significance of this mission, who would take us where Gilo took us up to here, take us into the next decade, where our goal is to enhance common citizenship based on democratic values and on universal assumptions regarding the human being. These are things we want to take to the next stage. We have all of the material there. We just need the funding to get it done.
Okay.
We have, incidentally, another program. Can I say something about that?
Be very brief.
We're also developing an MA program in addition to our MA program in democracy and citizenship. We're developing a program called global development, global local.
Okay.
It will be in English. It will be consecutive 4 semesters. It will be for international and Israeli students. And the mission will be to train here at the university the next 21st generation of volunteers and professionals who work with international NGOs who want to save the world in local communities, stuff that you know something about. We want to train them here. We'll do it at the Gilo Center.
Okay. Our audience has heard that. You need funds. And
sure.
I hope they heard you very well.
We need partners. We need partners.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that, thank you very much, Dan.
Thanks. It's a pleasure.
In another discussion with IMRC scientists, Yehudit Bergman discusses how the body develops its specific capacities to attack foreign elements. Then we shift to politics. Obama pressured Israel and the Palestinians to start peace talks. Previous right-wing Israeli prime ministers succumbed as well, reversing previous deep convictions. Join us next week for our show on immunity and influence.